Good evening, CNF lovers. Thank you for coming here tonight for our creative nonfiction event featuring readers from 4 exclusive CNF magazines: River Teeth, Hippocampus, Fourth Genre, and Under the Gum Tree. My name is Robin Martin. I am not only too tall for this microphone, but also the managing editor for Under the Gum Tree. I'm happy today to introduce the editors of the magazines who are here. First we have Laura Julier, who is the editor of Fourth Genre magazine. We have... What? Did I mess it up?
No.
Okay. Then, I'm used to it.
Oh, you like it?
No, I don't like it, but I'm used to it. You have to bring it way down for Laura.
Am I going first? No.
Then Donna Tellerico from Hippocampus is here. We've got Joe Mackle, the founding editor of River Teeth, here. And the executive editor of Under the Gum Tree, Jana Marlies Marin. So, is everybody going to come up now?
No, just
Joe.
Joe.
One at a time? Just Joe. Okay, so starting us off is Joe Mackle from River Teeth, and he's going to introduce his readers.
All right, hi folks. I want to thank Robin and Jenna for doing this, and they're organized, and it's very intimidating because I'm not that way, which is why I usually carry my managing editor with me, but she's over at doing whatever it is she does, and I'm not looking. First thing I have to do is pick 2 tickets to see who won something. A River Teeth Journal, which is over there, to my right. All right, you ready to look at your tickets?
Yeah.
8-4, or do I just need the last few numbers?
So,
All right, I'm just going. 8-4, 5-6-5, 6-1. Don't try to lie or anything. Okay. All right, the other one is 8-4-5, 6-6-3-2. Someone had a win. All right. All right, now it's my honor to meet Ann Barngrover. I didn't know Ann.
No.
Right over there, sir.
I believe it.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to meet Ann Barngrover. We published Ann, but I didn't get to meet her until tonight. I'm very happy that we were able to do that. Ann is the author of 2 books of poetry, Brazen Creature, which was a 2016 Editor's Choice selection, and Yellhound Blues. Her poems have appeared in North American Review, Ecotone, Crazy Horse, Copper Nickel, Indiana Review, and others. She's an assistant professor in creative writing of St. Leo University and lives in Tampa, right here, a homegrown person. And she's published a lot of poetry, but this was her first official nonfiction piece. So she's come to the dark side, and we're happy to have her. Thanks.
Hey everybody, can you hear me okay? Yeah. Alright, cool. Thanks for coming out tonight. Hope you guys are all having a good AWP. So I'm going to read a couple little sections from this essay called Boom. And this section begins after a scene where I come home and my house has been broken into. I didn't know that when they dust a house for fingerprints, the dust looks more like ash, like soot. I didn't know that, like sand, it's nearly impossible to get rid of. It stains. As the trees turn the color of flame, as the nights grow colder and birds follow the river current south, I start to hear explosions at night while I am sleeping. They are not hiccups of sound like gunfire or fireworks. I hear bombs, loud as war zone coverage on the news, louder than the loudest thunder. The explosions are accompanied by snatches of light from outside my windows, as if someone were waving a flashlight into my room, trying to catch a glimpse of what's inside. When I peer outside after the bomb rocks my house so hard I can feel even the window panes shudder, everything remains as it should. There is no wreckage. There is no visible danger. No one is standing outside in pajamas and calling the police. Should I? Is it a car backfiring? Is it an earthquake? Is it a sonic boom? Is it a gas leak? Is it a meteor? Is it a meth house exploding? One morning, I catch one of my neighbors leaving for work, and I ask him if he heard that weird loud noise the night before. He shakes his head. No, but I'm a really heavy sleeper. Of course you are. Sometimes it feels as though everyone in the world can sleep sounder than me. I Google my zip code, I Google my town, I Google the local news, the local crime. Nothing comes up that I can confirm. I Google loud explosions at night. It is here where I pause, my heart beating from stomach to throat. The third entry down is a Wikipedia entry for something called exploding head syndrome. I am on the phone in bed, the jarring blue light casting a panic tent in my blankets. I text my friend Greg, who I know will be awake. In turn, he texts his aunt, who is a psychiatrist. Like us, she keeps late hours. Here is what I learned. These bombs are not happening outside of my house, but rather inside my inner ear, which is having a small seizure. I am suffering from a rare sleep disorder, a parasomnia. It is not dangerous, though remains relatively unresearched. The few sleep specialists and psychiatrists who study it agree it can be one of the body's many responses to anxiety, fear, or trauma. Greg's aunt asks about me. Has her sleep ever been disrupted before? I think of how I lay awake all those nights as a child, listening to the owls hooting outside my bedroom window, my mind spinning and splitting, unable to sleep. How I slept-walked for a period of time, or rather slept-ran into my parents' room, screaming that the radio announced our house was going to explode. Has something scary recently happened to her? She asked him. Is there something maybe deeper, maybe something that this break-in is reminding her of? A bomb is going off inside my head. It is trying to tell me something. If only I will listen. I am given someone to talk to once a week for 5 weeks. After that, I have to start paying, so we might as well get started. I tell my therapist that I don't feel like anyone sees me here. She crosses and uncrosses her legs, folds and unfolds her hands. Why do you feel that way? I want to say because men make a geometric shape with their bodies to block me out of conversations. But she doesn't like when I intellectualize things. She asks me, but why do you need them to see you? I tell her it's about how a woman is taught to exist one way her whole life, and when she does everything right, it still doesn't matter. Haven't I followed all the scripts? Haven't I done what they've counseled me all my life? All the parables are untrue. All the well-meaning advice dissolves like grains of sugar. All the algorithms fail. She shakes her head. I am being too intellectual once more. Winter, I crunch across a sheet cake of snow through my neighborhood to campus and pass by one man. It is a cold yet bright day, and from where we stand, there is no other person in our field of vision. As we get closer to one another, I grin slightly and lift my hand in greeting. He looks to the side. He looks at his phone. Another time, I'm walking on the sidewalk alone. A man on his bike rides up next to me. Boo. He laughs when I startle. That's real funny to do to a woman, I say, surprised at my own voice, a wild violet, suddenly blooming. Sorry, he mutters over his shoulder, now already half a block away. I see him park at a bike stand, loop the cord in between the metal and wheel, and click the heavy lock. He knows how to keep things from being taken. I see him look at his phone. My body becomes a salt lamp, ice and glass. In bed, in buildings, in the park, in sidewalks, in hallways, in schools, in stores, in bars, in homes, men turn away, turn away, turn away, turn away. Once these men told me to smile. Now I smile and they look aside. "You look so different with makeup," a man says to me. "Have you been here this whole time?" What he means is that I decided to draw myself in full view. What he means is that he has finally noticed my eyes, and they are opened. Do not mistake my silence for apathy. I am always listening. I am always watching. I am summoning my words like storm clouds, beckoning them like rain. When you kick me, I feel it, and I remember. Thank you.
You're next. Yeah.
Okay.
And pick 2 tickets.
Hi, I'm Laura Julier. I'm editor of Fourth Genre. I'm picking 2 tickets. Was that very loud? Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. 845-6642. Woo! Come on. So, or the free subscription. Here.
Subscription or book? Over there.
Subscription or issue. Here. And 845-6562. There's another. Okay, we're thrilled to be here. Thank you, Jana. Thank you, Robin. Our first reader is Alysia Sawchyn, who's back somewhere there. Okay. Alysia currently lives in Tampa, where she's a nonfiction editor for Sweet, a literary confection.
No.
Her writing has appeared or is forthcoming in Indiana Review, Diagram, and Essay. Please welcome Alysia Sawchyn. This essay is in this issue.
Hi, can you hear me? I'm really loud, like as a person. Thank you so much for having me. I was saying earlier, I don't think you're supposed to say this, but this is my first time ever reading an AWP, so this is really exciting for me. And by exciting, I'm like terrified. Thank you. This is an excerpt from my essay, Dog Brain, which is in the current issue of Fourth Genre. It is not super happy. Sorry. It'll be all right. Okay. I think that's all you need to know. We are at a spiritual retreat in a Florida state park in January, and it is below freezing outside. Inside, the heating vents are loud. So loud we are nearly shouting to be heard, and cigarette smoke fills the upper third of the large room. This is the last habit we kick. The retreat is for addicts. While welcoming to all, most of the attendees' primary problem is one of substance. Cheap liquor thrown up first thing in the morning, lighter burns on finger edges, track marks in the arms, legs, feet. Once the substances are gone, other problems linger. We make wishes on lottery tickets and card hands. We tear open our bodies with sharp objects. We watch pornography compulsively. The retreat allows for celebration of time away from vices, for discussion of how they remain. It feels cult-like at times, theoretically non-denominational, but closed with hymnal songs that make reference to unending mercy. And this nagging impression is exacerbated by the fact that there are similar weekends held across the United States. People travel hours to attend, and it is common to see familiar faces, old-timers, at the ones scattered throughout the southeastern states, in woodsy cabins on the outskirts of Gainesville, next to a decrepit barbecue shack in Brooksville, Florida, on the shores of Lake Allatoona, an hour north of Atlanta. Our second night in the woods, we sit and listen. A man stands at the front of the smoke-heavy room. He thanks everyone for his presence at this retreat, for his general continued existence. He is grateful for their love. It makes all things possible. He talks about his struggles, about how he drove past the Hard Rock on I-4 to get to this weekend. He says he wanted to pull over, and what's more, he dislikes his body, has now switched one bad habit for another. I'm fucking fat, he says. I hate myself, how I look, but here and he turns in my direction. I don't notice at first, but then he says my name, and I hope she doesn't mind me saying this, and I know it will come next. Hackles rise. The crowd is now watching me, not him, and I look up and meet his eyes to avoid everyone else's. What happens next is inevitable. He says I am beautiful, keeps repeating the word. He says when I took off my shirt to go swimming when he met me so many years ago, he was struck by the contrast of me, beautiful, and my scars, thin and raised and white, down my arm and up my sides. He says my lack of self-consciousness, my beauty despite the scars, as if they could somehow be separated from my body, inspire him to hate his own figure less. His eyes fill with grateful, loving tears. I smile and nod. I am gracious. I am resentful. I am self-conscious, and the feeling lingers. The next time I go swimming in public, 9 months later, I think about my sides, about wrapping my arms around myself and resting a hand above each hip bone. I feel echoes of teenage embarrassment, a familiar desire to disappear. My most visible scars are on the lateral side of my right arm. They draw stares, serve as a biological beware of dog sign. There's a small group clustered around my shoulder, and then tracks of them spaced almost evenly from 1 inch above my elbow to 2 inches above my wrist. I made them in 2 spurts, a few months apart. The shoulder was first. It was a new place on my body, somewhere I hadn't yet broken in. The line down my arm I made another day, all in one go. These scars are sometimes mistaken for a type of adornment. I think this is because of their prominent location, their even pattern. Body modification has an old history, and intentionally scarring the flesh has been used to denote rites of passage. A woman may mark her stomach to indicate the onset of menstruation, or as a type of permanent ornamentation. There's that word beautiful again, for centuries. Altering the skin moves a person from one social group to another. Depending on the context, this movement can be positive, but it can also be ostracizing. The body is a battleground of belonging. One summer, I spent what felt like 2 weeks straight in a print shop, setting type, throwing my shoulder behind a Vandercook's drum cylinder. I wore baggy, short-sleeved t-shirts because of the heat and the oil and the small metal shavings that left black smudges across fabric. The people I met and worked with during that time became close in the long hours and small spaces, our unfamiliarity with the heavy hot metals bonding us together. One woman had recently returned from Tanzania, where she'd studied traditional design. I sat next to her while we worked, admired her capable hands run a bone folder down a book spine with just the right amount of pressure. She looked at me while I sat on a metal folding chair, hunched over my spread legs, elbows on knees. Scarification, she said. I was confused. She pointed to my arm. Nice. I may have said thank you. I likely said thank you. She was assuming the best of me. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Look at this crowd. This is amazing. Thank you so much for coming out. I'm
Donna from Hippocampus, and before I introduce our first reader, I will pick a few winners. And I hope I won't pick my own ticket, because I have good luck at raffles. All right, this is going to be for an arc of the book that Rebecca's going to read from, so that's what this first prize will be. It is 845-6563. 6563. Anybody? Do we have it? You have to be present to win.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll throw it back in so they get another chance. Or maybe I shouldn't have done that. Oops. Okay. 845-6559. 559? All right. And the second one's going to be for a Hippocamp conference t-shirt. And we have multiple sizes, so if we don't have your size here, we have more in a bag. 845-6594. 594. All right. And if you need another size, you can see Kevin over there. Okay. So I'm about to introduce Rebecca Fish-Ewan. We're thrilled that Rebecca is here with us in Tampa, and we're honored and proud to be publishing her memoir, which is the first in our new book imprint called Books by Hippocampus. And you are going to be part of one of the first crowds to hear her read from this. Rebecca is a poet, cartoonist, writer, and founder of Plankton Press, where small is big enough. Her writing, cartoons, and hybrid form work have appeared in Brevity, Punctuate, Under the Gum Tree, Mother, and Hip Mama. She also creates zines and teaches in the design school at Arizona State University, which is also her MFA home. She has 2 books of creative nonfiction, A Land Between and By the Forces of Gravity, which you're going to hear from tonight. Rebecca grew up in Berkeley, California, which is where her book is set, and now lives in Arizona with her family. Welcome, Rebecca.
Can you guys hear me? I have a really quiet voice. Is that okay? Okay. I'm so excited to be here. This came out it's the advanced reader copy, but it came out 2 days ago while I was having dinner. And so, before I start reading, because half of it is in cartoons, which are hard to show unless I had a slide, but I heard it was going to be a bar, and I was just like, it's too complicated. So I'm just going to read the poems, and it's about a friendship in 1970s Berkeley, so I don't know if I need to say a whole lot more about what that means. It was a crazy time, and it was a lot of darkness, a lot of lightness, and just a combination. And so I'm going to start with the moment that I met my friend Luna, and so that you're not confused, her name was Lina at the time. So she starts as Lina, and then we both changed our names. Mine was Becky Starfish. Just the middle name is all I changed. Okay. I try not to stay. Oh, just some context. We drove up to the Russian River to drop acid. I try not to stare at the youngest girl because it feels like staring at her for too long would be like staring into the sun. First, there's burning warmth, then blindness. I'm Lina, she says, when she comes over to talk to me. I nod to let her know I heard her. I don't talk much, but she does. So I get to hear all about her adventures in Mexico and how she has a soulmate and their song is You've Got a Friend. She tells me every time she hears James Taylor sing this song, she can feel her soulmate beside her, even though he's not with her in body, since her dad is not completely cool with the age thing. Oh. The universe is ageless. Time is relative, and our souls are both ancient, so I think we should be together in this life, no matter what. We have a lot in common, is what I'm thinking. We're both 12, have 2 older sisters, and are with older dudes, except she loves hers, thinks he's her soulmate, and she's super pretty, in a girly way, like a goddess. We drop acid together that night. She tells me she once levitated in the Mexican desert. She shows me how it can happen. We sit on the floor facing each other, our legs crossed, crisscross applesauce like in kindergarten. We close our eyes. She tells me to clear my mind. I try, but my mind is tripping on acid, so I watch the lights behind my eyes. I can tell I'm not levitating since I feel the cold wood floor under my butt. I peek to see if she's floating. Not yet. I close my eyes again. So that was our first night together, and she was just a wild and amazing person, and I was kind of shy and boring, or I don't know. And then I went back to Berkeley, and I'm not going to tell you the whole story because you should buy the book. But I had dropped out of school and had moved out of my house and was living with my 17-year-old boyfriend and sort of flopping in an apartment. And there's a whole dark chapter about that called Dark Matter, and I'm going to skip that. And then she moved down to Berkeley, and we were roommates. We got kicked out of that apartment. Go figure. I don't think we paid the rent. And we moved into a kids' commune. Just kids. You couldn't be over 18 if you lived there. Most everybody was runaways or throwaways. My sister and I call ourselves walkaways because we didn't have any parental opposition to doing what we were doing. So I'm going to read 2 poems from that, and then I'll be done. When my dad let me and Lisa, that's my sister. Oh, just a couple names. My sister's name is Lisa. There's a guy named Jim. He was the oldest, most responsible person there. He was 18. So he would look into trying to feed us and stuff. And then I make a reference to Scrapbook Man, and I don't want to talk about him tonight. This is a celebratory time. And then there's 2 boys named Basil and Cohen. When my dad let me and Lisa live at Blake Street, he gave me an old steamer trunk to hold my things. A long time ago, when he was maybe my age, he traveled to Europe on a boat with my great-grandpa. My dad carried all his things in this trunk for that trip. Now I'm on my own trip. I keep the trunk in my loft by the long pillow I use as a bed. Luna usually sleeps below me on a piece of foam on the floor. I like being up high and near my things. The steamer trunk is my treasure chest, where I put pretty things I find. My scarves, shells, shiny bits of metal, the pebbles I brought from the Russian River. It seems like 1,000,000 years since that day me and Luna went to the swimming hole, basked in the sun by the Russian River, and watched the dragonflies buzz the surface of the water like tiny helicopters. Most days, I wish we were up there in the country, especially now it's cold and wintry. Blake Street only has one heater vent. It's in the front room by the fireplace and the couches where the stoners come to cop weed. Luckily, the furnace just got fixed. Since the winter, it's been cold. Oh, it's been colder than a well digger's ass, so says Jim. He helped make a pamphlet about our commune to give to people so they'll donate more heater vents or firewood, anything to keep us warm. It's so cold. My skin looks like frozen milk. Tonight, like every night, I have to stand over the heater vent to soak up some warmth. I don't like being in the front room at night because this is when creeps hang out there. But I'm freezing my ass off, so here I am. There's a dude on the couch with a swollen eye. He got beat up for some reason. He's here to buy weed to take the pain away. His face looks scary, half hidden behind a curtain of dark, scraggly hair
He stares at me with his one good eye, hungry like scrapbook man before he did that, what I don't like remembering. Fuck it, I'm going to my loft. The only way I can stay warm enough to fall asleep is to run as fast as I can so the heater vent warmth sticks with me until I crawl into my sleeping bag. People are getting sick here. Strep throat, bronchitis, coughing, hawking loogies. So that's kind of dismal. I don't really want to end with that. So the next day, kind of. Just like childhood, anywhere, it's dark and it's light and you get over it. I'm going to end with this really quick little poem. And you probably can't see this, but this is my homage to Maurice Sendak, who I think was a marvelous, marvelous storyteller in pictures and words. Snow falling right out of the sky. This is not an acid trip, just freaky cold weather. I've never seen snow here. Maybe it's never happened here before. No one knows about snow, like how to drive in it or how to stay warm. Our plan is to play in it until it melts. Me, Luna, Basil, and Cohen just built a snowman in the Berkeley Hills. I can see the ocean from up here. Me and the dwarf snowman stand together in the snow. Cohen just hit Basil with a snowball. We make snowballs and chase each other all around the hill while our snowman watches the sun drop into the sea. Even though I hate being cold, and my shoes are soaked through with ice water, and my jean jacket does squat to keep the cold out, I feel warm inside, having a blast in the snow. Some days are just plain fun. Thank you.
Hello, nonfiction fans. I'm Jana Marin. I'm the editor and publisher of Under the Gumtree, and before I introduce our reader, I'm going to do the whole ticket thing. So, pay attention, calling numbers. 6613. We have a winner. And 6588. 6588? Yeah! So come on over here, see Robin, and you can pick an issue of Under the Gumtree to take home with you. All right. Representing Under the Gumtree tonight, our first reader is the author of I Will Say This Exactly One Time essays, Crush with Will Stockton, Brit Lit, and Catch and Release, which is winner of the Robin Becker Prize. He is an assistant professor of English at Texas Tech University. His work has appeared in Three Penny Review, Poetry, and The Rumpus, and his essay Boyhood Sisterhood appears in the April 2017 issue of Under the Gumtree. Please welcome D. Gilson.
Thank you guys for being here. Can everyone hear me okay? Good. This is a great crowd. Oh my god. You guys are AWP warriors, and I hope that's not all of us get strep throat and such next week. So I'm writing a book of essays right now about growing up queer and Pentecostal. So yeah, I spent a summer in high school living with the Palins of Sarah Palin fame. So I had a weird childhood, to say the least. So this is a really short new essay called At the Altar with Billy Graham.
Oh my gosh.
I am a girl and I love another girl, MD writes to the Lakeland Ledger. However, I am worried about my Christian life. Please help. On November 20th, 1973, Billy Graham replies, "Let me say this loud and clear. We traffic in homosexuality at the peril of our spiritual warfare. When Billy Graham died on February 21st, 2018, my friends, mostly writers and academics, liberal civil rights activists, and feminists and queers, took to Facebook to circumvent the assured onslaught of praise for the man who had been known for decades as America's pastor. One friend shared a campy memorial, Billy Graham's name atop the Wicked Witch's body, crushed under the house, along with the words, "Girl, bye." Another friend got more quickly to how many of us felt about the Reverend. Billy Graham is dead. Beneath that bland, non-denominational exterior was a disgusting, bigoted man. Good riddance and rot in hell, he said. I would be lying if I claimed a feeling otherwise, to claim that with hatred towards the good Reverend, my cup didn't runneth over. His list of sins is long and mighty. Graham preached against the feminist and gay liberation movements, and even spoke out against civil rights as a matter of cultural sin, painting racism itself as just a matter of the fallen heart. Graham encouraged Nixon in his anti-Semitic fervor, both Bushes in their respective wars on sovereign nations, and Clinton in his dismantling of welfare as we knew it. He was an outspoken supporter of massive bombing campaigns in Vietnam, and later celebrated the war in Iraq as an opportunity for our Christian nation to save people from Islam. Graham blocked Protestantism, nay, all of Western Christendom, from abandoning its socially exclusionary ways. Graham mired us, softly yes, but perhaps more than anyone else during the 20th century, in Christian fundamentalism. A fundamentalism that gave us the culture wars, that gave us a broken American electorate, that gave us a Christian nation no longer interested in the social justice gospel of its origin, but hell-bent on electing Donald Trump as a warrior for Christ. I'm writing myself out of what I came here to say, that the legacy of Billy Graham is complicated. Is it? I'm not so sure, but I'll try to imagine this version of remembrance too. In their obituary, the New York Times recalls Graham as one prominent version of the American dream incarnate. A North Carolina farmer's son who preached to millions in stadium events he called crusades, becoming a pastor to presidents and the nation's best-known Christian evangelist for more than 60 years. Perhaps more than anyone else, too, Graham ushered in the era of cult celebrity. Celebrity, a complicated cultural position in and of itself, Jesus warned, saying, "For they loved the praise of men more than the praise of God." For all the shit things Graham did, and they are voluminous, he also encouraged a nation to feel. And this, I say now, as a queer agnostic, is perhaps his greatest, perhaps his only great legacy. Since the late 1940s, Graham appeared before millions of Americans, before millions more around the world, excluding many, yes, but comforting many others, from Queen Elizabeth II to Hurricane Katrina victims. Are you frustrated, bewildered, dejected, breaking under the strains of life? He was fond of asking the stadiums filled for his crusades. My father watched these on television, I remember now, just as his father, an abusive drunk, listened to them on the radio. I remember my father crying then, breaking under the strains of life, unafraid to cry in front of me as the Spirit supposedly moved him, a reformation of American masculinity rarely seen in my household, certainly many others. Melissa Gregg tells us how in such moments, bodies catch feelings as easily as they catch fire. Affect leaps from one body to another, evoking tenderness, inciting shame, igniting rage, exciting fear. I am not saying anyone's reaction to Graham's death is wrong. He made many people feel, feelings which catch fire now in both tenderness and shame and rage. My grandfather, were he alive today, would grow tender, I imagine. When I call him, my father feels shame for worshiping at the bequest of a man who would want to teach him to hate his own faggot son. His son, that's me, rages along with his friends at the acquiescent misremembering of a man who taught Americans to devalue each other, on the one hand, and with the other, to feel. Thank you.
Billy Graham was my great uncle. I'm just shitting you. I don't know who he was. All right, we got a couple other things here. All right, ready? This is for an actual book, Jill Christman, who I'm about to introduce, her amazing AWP award winner called Dark Room. This is an incredible book. Here it goes. I brought my own ticket up here, even though I've already read the book. I love it. Now, 6593. 6593?
We got it.
All right. Here you go. Here you go. Thank you.
I'll sign it for you later.
Okay. No shouting from the peanut gallery. 6579. 6579? Shoot it. This is some kind of nepotism. You probably already have the river teeth, but it's over there.
I want the book.
The book's gone. Sorry. See, you would think when you're handing stuff out for free, people would just take it. Judith. All right. There's been some great readings tonight. Jill Christman is a problem, and here's why. We've published Jill, I think, 3 times at least, right, Jill? Pay attention, for Christ's sake.
It's 3. I was thinking about the reading. I'm trying to get the...
All right, straighten it up. And now we're really good friends, and you don't want to just keep, publish your friends, but a lot of my friends are really good writers, and if we love them, we're going to publish them.
Yeah.
So I just want to put that out there. So Jill, keep sending us stuff. If I don't like something, I'll let you know. Jill is the author of 2 memoirs, Dark Room, A Family Exposure, the one we just gave away. It was an AWP Award Series and Creative Nonfiction winner. And Borrowed Babies, Apprenticing for Motherhood, as well as essays in magazines and journals such as Brevity, True Story, Fourth Genre, Twilight Quarterly, Oprah Magazine, and Brainchild. This spring she has new work coming out in Creative Nonfiction. Jesus Christ, sorry. Creative Nonfiction. Yeah, like nonfiction's a hard word with this group tonight. And River Teeth, A Love Story with a Poet. Those are good. And Roxanne Gay's anthology, Not That Bad, Dispatches from Rape Culture. She was born right here in Florida during the Summer of Love. She now lives in the Midwest, teaches creative nonfiction running at Ball State. We heard a terrific reading from one of her former students, Alysia, which was a terrific reading. So Jill, help me welcome Jill Christman, please.
Thanks for the vote of confidence. This is my first time reading off an iPad like the cool kids. Because my colleague, Silas Hansen, said the reading I was going to read was not that good. So I had to change it up. Can you hear me? Yeah? Can you hear me too much? I'm loud. Okay. All right. So thank you for being here. I know you had other offers. I know you did. And so I am thrilled that you are here with us tonight, and my favorite nonfiction magazines and my favorite editors and writers and readers. So this is a big treat. And to return that treat, I wrote a happy story. Me, Jill Christman. And Joe Mackel and Dan Lehman chose it for this spring's issue of River Teeth. And so I'm going to begin a little Florida part because we're in Florida. And then I'm going to throw in a funny bit, a sexy bit. Yeah, because this is a bar. And then I'll leave you titillated and anxious to buy the next issue. So here we go. It's called Life's Not a Paragraph, a Literary Love Story. I am married to a poet. Hold on, this is not at the right angle. Okay. Once, bemoaning the fact that so many of my husband Mark's poems feature his old girlfriend, fixed as she is in the sharp beauty and cold fury of her mid-20s, poem after poem, captivating even to me in her perfect unattainability, never aging, I said, why don't you ever write any poems about me? And Mark shrugged. Try breaking up with me, then you get some poems. In a breakup story, or the one who got away tale of woe, it's all there. Tension and betrayal, disappointment and decline, fighting and fucking, all that exquisite heartbreak. But what if the heart stays intact? What then? Do we take the story back to the beginning, way back to the unlikely conception and birth of the heroine? That's me. Once upon a time, a long, long time ago, in a land far, far away, but actually not that far from where we are right now, a baby girl was born into the dragon breath heat of a South Florida summer, arriving too late for the summer of love, but crowning just as Janis Joplin was busting out with Piece of My Heart on a rain-soaked stage in Woodstock, New York. The day was August 16, 1969. And as birth stories go, I'll take it. I looked that up. Janis was singing at that moment. That is creative nonfiction right there.
Yes.
My poor mother missed the whole thing. My birth, not Janis, although her too. Because those were the days of twilight sleep, and my mother's memories were not given the opportunity to lay down tracks. See how I'm working in the part about memory, because we like to think about memory. She was there and likely conscious, if a little loopy, but the twilight cocktail wiped the story clean. Maybe she got to hold me, count toes, kiss fingers, but likely not. What efficient doctor would take time for that? In 1969, the Miami Baby Hospital was not in the business of love, bonding, and the making of memories. My greatest regret, my mother says, over 40 years later, is that I was not awake when you were born. My father's no help in filling in the missing details, because when the contractions fell into a pattern, he dropped my mother off at the hospital and headed out with my 4-year-old brother Ewan to hang over the safety rail and watch Cookie, the largest crocodile in captivity, snap up live chickens at feeding time. Think of the crashing jaws, the flying feathers and gore. Imagine how this scene might have mirrored whatever unremembered things were going on at the baby hospital. This is the human condition. Preconception, conception, gestation, birth, and afterbirth, which is to say, life, present so many opportunities for chance and error in even the most controlled environment. And what environment ruled by the vicissitudes of love and sex, or even just one egg and one sperm among millions, is controlled? For any of us emerging from the fluid darkness of the womb to suck in a phlegmy breath of actual air and release that first lusty cry, what are the chances? I could so easily be someone else entirely, as could Mark and all the rest of us up and down the family line to the miraculous children we named and call ours. If 1 second changes, one solitary moment, one single instant, we imagine ourselves out of existence. Thinking about the improbability of our own beginning is almost as bad as thinking about the certainty of the end. I don't know how we all live with it. That was the essaying part. I'll get back to the sexy bit now. It is spring in Tuscaloosa, and a stranger is coming to town. The magnolia is in full fragrant bloom, and everything that happens next unfolds in the present tense with no time for reflection, which is the way with early love. Gerald Stern is coming to read, and I want to do something special for his reception, something impressive. I decide on cheese twists made from homemade puff pastry dough. Have you ever made puff pastry dough from scratch? Can I see a show of hands? Okay. Yeah. It takes days. That dough requires a lover, not a baker. But perhaps I'm drawing a distinction where there should be none. Yeah. Okay, so I'm deleting like 3 pages of the rolling and the folding and the layering in the name of brevity. Such attention is paid to puff pastry, and I'm going to switch to second person because when I was a grad student, I was much enamored by Lori Moore. Weren't we all, really? On the 3rd morning, cut and shape your cheese sticks. Use the finest Parmigiano Reggiano cheese no graduate student can afford. Bake. Cool. Arrange in a sloping wooden bowl. Gorgeous. Tuck them in with a tea towel to keep them safe. At the party for Gerald Stern, watch this scene unfold as if you're watching an episode of Seinfeld. First, the guy you're currently carrying on with, but in the most clandestine and casual of ways, approaches the food table drawn to your golden twists. He selects one from the basket, pulls it towards his gaping mouth, and takes a big bite. There's some sputtering, and he spits flaky pastry, your flaky pastry, into the palm of his hand. This is what he says, with a pronounced Arkansan twang. Damn! I thought that was gonna be a breadstick! You say nothing. What can you say? You're still standing there aghast when Mark, that hot first year from your lit class, don't judge me, fills the vacated space at the table. The other guy has gone off to find a trash can for the thrice-chewed head of one of your lovingly shaped twists. Mark has not witnessed the absurd display of his unknown rival. He too selects a golden spiral from the bowl and takes a bite. He smiles and takes another bite, and then, looking directly into your eyes, says, wow, somebody made puff pastry from scratch. Did you? Yes, as a matter of fact, yes. Yes, I did. Okay, this is many years later now. Mark and I are writing in the loft at my mom's house in Washington, and I'm feeling the need to indulge in a brief meta-departure. The kids are at the park with their grandmother. It's too fucking hot, so Mark's writing in his underwear, his clicking laptop warming the family jewels. What are you doing, he asks, cocking an eyebrow towards the big chair where I sit in my own underwear with my own laptop. This is how writing gets done, people. In this way, we are simpatico. I stand up and touch the slanting ceiling, arch my back in a deep stretch. Sexercise? Mark says hopefully. I ignore him. I'm trying to write a love story, I say. It's hard. If you're going to write a love story, he says, it has to have some dirty bits. He pulls me down on the bed. Otherwise, nobody cares. Otherwise, it's just a couple of dorks holding hands. He rolls on top of me and lifts my leg by the ankle. Do you want me to be your muse? I do. Thank you.
Laura, if you don't have, I think we gave away all your prizes, so you don't have to do tickets.
How'd that happen?
Oh, is there one more?
There's one more, yeah.
Oh, okay, so one more.
This is getting fun.
Yeah.
All right. One more? Two more?
One more.
One.
Robin, just one? Yeah.
One. All right, this is it. 845-6641. Good. It's over there.
Yeah, Gale.
I am thrilled to introduce our next reader. Her essay is in the will be in the upcoming issue of Fourth Genre that should appear around August, maybe September. Sheree Geer is a Milwaukee, Wisconsin native, now a writer and educator living in Tampa. She founded the Kitchen Table Literary Arts Center to showcase and support the work of Black women and women of color writers, and is the author of 2 novels, Let the Lover Be, and A Return to Arms, a short story collection, Once and Future Lovers, and a student writing guide, Stop Writing Whack Essays. Sheree is a Rona Voices alum, an Estrella Lesbian Foundation for Justice grantee, and Ragdale Foundation Rubin Fellow. She teaches composition, creative writing, and African American literature at St. Petersburg College here in Florida. Please welcome Sheree Geer.
Thank you very much. The sun went down. It got real. I'm gonna need all y'all from up north to take this shit with y'all when y'all go back home. So this is from an essay called Bars. Water Street. Various bars on Water Street in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
All these bars look and feel the same. Loud, bright televisions devoted to sports and crowded with white college students in their cleanest shirt and favorite pair of jeans. There's a few recent grads there too, dudes in khaki pants and polo shirts or dress pants and button-ups, girls in short skirts and spaghetti strap tops. Why am I here? End of semester drinks with classmates, including the white girl who's been in every one of my business classes and keeps telling me that I'm the first black person she really really met. I rolled my eyes each time she said it, and she just said it again while filling my pint glass. Christina Aguilera blasts through the bar, a gaggle of blonde co-eds erupt into too slow for the tempo twisting and imaginary hip rolling, a chorus of, I'm a genie in a bottle, from an entirely separate gaggle of blondes across the bar nearly sends me into a panic attack. I don't know anybody here, but I'm trying. Someone said at orientation that you make lifelong friends in college. I shrug and sip my beer. Even though they invited me, we're going out for beers. Want to come? I think my classmates are afraid to engage me in conversation. I don't go out of my way to make conversation with them either because that feels like sucking up to them, trying to make them like me, trying to convince me that I'm just like them. I'm not like them at all, and that's okay. But so much is invested in making that not okay that in that moment I feel wrong. Then I feel shitty for feeling like the wrong when it's racism and white supremacy that I'm mad at. Then everything feels wrong and awkward and stupid and difficult for no reason, and I just keep drinking. The pictures keep coming. I keep putting them down, trying not to think so much. The conversation turns to an upcoming microeconomics exam, and we all talk shit about our professor, which leads to talking shit about all our professors. I don't say much, but laugh a lot. Reluctant, but hella drunk, I sat on that white girl's lap in the back of the cab we took back to campus, and I knew two things for sure. One, I wouldn't be friends with any of those people after college, after graduation, and two, going out for beers is white people code for getting drunk as fuck. Pure. 162 West Wisconsin Avenue, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Graduation from Marquette University, I wore super tight striped pants and a black top that exposed all of my back. Tramp stamp intact. Marquette alumni license plate frame around my neck in a gold chain. 4.5 shots of Bacardi 151 make you ridiculous. December graduation meant the downtown Milwaukee air bit at our skimpy outfits something fierce. The whole night, I floated through the club like the flute through that jam by Noriega. I floated through the club and my sister made rounds, sharing loudly and proudly with anyone who approached her and anyone that she grabbed that I was a college graduate and deserved a drink. I don't know how many martinis I had, but I do know I was still drunk as hell the next morning at graduation. Something different. 2420 Central Avenue, St. Petersburg, Florida. My first job out of college meant relocation to Florida. I needed something different. Something in black cursive, different in black print, the burg, the dirty. On the avenue that separates the us and them, south side and north side, black and white, even though the bar is in the middle, we don't see too many of them step inside, and we ain't mad at all. Seagram 7 and ginger ale in a tiny plastic cup. I want to complain about the size of the cup, but I take one sip and shudder. It's a small cup filled with so much Seagrams, it done melted the ice. Tampa Tony is blasting through the speakers, shaking the red walls. My sister and I can't hear each other, but decide in unison to venture toward the dance floor. The bass so loud, it swallows the lyrics. They looking though, so keep juking. Headliners, 2223 North West Shore Boulevard, Tampa, Florida. Ladies' Night Thursday, massive club, the bar always crowded, TV screens and an elevated DJ booth. From airport to headliners, every Thursday when I flew home from my out-of-town engagements, as they were called in the IT consulting game, I was making that long money. When the free drinks for ladies ran out at midnight, me and my sister still drinking. We got a tab, we dancing but not dancing, lean back, lean back. We shooting pool and I'm trying to channel my father. I grip the cue and lean in, my eyes narrowing with focus. I call my shots and miss them 98% of the time. Unlike the games my father played, there's no rent money on the table. I like ladies' night for several reasons. One reason in particular that I refused to say out loud. Thank you.
All right, everyone, 2 more tickets. 6623. 6623. We got one? Okay, awesome. And 6564. 6564. Yes? 6564? No? Okay, one more. 6587. 6587, we got it. Awesome. Okay. Our next Under the Gumtree reader is a former Los Angeles Times reporter and has tenure at California State University as a communication and journalism professor. She has an MFA in creative writing from Antioch University, Los Angeles, and a PhD in communication from University of Denver. She is the Writing Center Director for the Graduate School in Leadership and Change at Antioch University, and she performed her one-woman show called One Good Egg at Beyond Baroque in a sold-out run at Center Stage Theater in Santa Barbara. Her essay, Breaking Up with Feminism, appears in what we think is the July 2012 issue of Under the Gumtree. Basically, it was like issue 2 or 3, so she's like old school Under the Gumtree contributor. Also a very dear friend of mine from Sacramento who we have collaborated with together on several projects, and I'm thrilled to announce to you and introduce to you tonight Elaine Gale.
Thank you so much, Jana. And thanks everyone for being here. Wow, this is also my first AWP reading. Thank you. So I think 2017 got me in a really kind of bad mood. So I've spent the last couple months writing humorous essays to kind of cheer myself up. I wrote one called Buying Condoms at Safeway at Midnight. This one is called Ode to the Conair 110. The Conair 110 sounds like a hairdryer, but it's actually my 25-year-old vibrator. Yes. Someday they'll find me dead in bed with my trusty Conair 110 Mixmaster between my legs. The plain-looking machine finally malfunctioning after decades of selfless service. The bedroom having gone up in flames. She's my best vibrator, the go-to. Women, you have a favorite, right? Right? Yes, excellent. One that's mind-blowingly better than the others. Not that chintzy prefab finger fucker from the Sharper Image. I love how vibrators at Sharper Image or Brookstone are sold as a personal massager. We all know what that means. There's always a picture of a woman holding the device over her shoulder to vibrate her back. No one's ever used it there. Ever. It's the most common trick you can turn, touching yourself. 98% of people masturbate and the other 2% are lying. Masturbation is cast as a sin in many religious traditions, and the practice gets tangled up with guilt and shame. The Methodists of my youth in rural Nebraska left the subject mostly untouched. When I was coming of age, my mother, a stay-at-home Kansas woman who was bisexual and just a few years away from leaving my dad for a Danish woman, I used to have this phrase, Dad drives a Jetta. Mom ran off with Yetta. So she took me to Grand Island, Nebraska for shopping at the mall and the big sex talk. She showed me pictures in an adult book, The Joy of Sex, the original edition published in 1972 with that super hairy dude. Right? It all seemed far-fetched at the time that I'd want to do any of the things shown in the book, especially with a caveman. We talked about procreation, mostly how to avoid it. Pleasure wasn't discussed. I want you to have the backdrop of my repressed rural American upbringing. The sexiest thing I did was detassel and shuck corn. One of my top goals as a human being is to not be so uptight that I can one day go to Burning Man. The Conair 110 has helped with that. I bought her in '92. That year, Sir Mix-a-Lot had just released Baby Got Back. The most popular movie was Last of the Mohicans, and the first Bush was in the White House. If it's so old, then why don't I buy a new one? Because I hate our throwaway culture. Because I love her. Because I'm sentimental. Because she's a clit whisperer. I got the Conair 110 in my 20s at the Kmart near the Mall of America in Minneapolis with my friend Bridget. Back in Nebraska at the time, we were all into flavored condoms like sour apple, and Pulp Fiction, and zines, and rollerblading, and full bush. Mostly because full bush was warm and Minnesota was very cold. It was like wearing a pussy pelt. What I didn't know back then was that I'd be standing here 25 years later reading her an ode that she's become a sacred companion. She's the benevolent, whirring defibrillator paddle that always brings me back to life. She's a beloved, like a pet, that's the love of my life, and I know won't live forever. It's definitely a she. You have to have a clit to understand one that well. Her cliteracy is exceptional. The Conair 110 is ordinary looking, not tricked out or fancy. I've learned to never underestimate the ordinary. The Conair 110 is an equal opportunity vibrator. She's anti-elitist. She's probably in a union. I do make her keep long hours sometimes. That does happen. She costs under $10. That kind of democratic orgasm turns me on. She whispers her wisdom to me. Elaine, it's not about the right toy. It's not about the right boy. It's about finding your own joy. I'm not against the rabbit or the Hitachi magic wand, the so-called Cadillac of vibrators. But neither of them worked for me. Using the Hitachi was like trying to maneuver a Valerian steel sword. It was so heavy, it gave me carpal tunnel. My arm was in a sling. The Conair 110 is a faithful friend that's been with me through the sexual big bang of my 20s, the slow burn of my 30s, and now the slight contraction but still steady heat of my 40s. We've lived together in Minneapolis, Los Angeles, Long Beach, Newport Beach, Costa Mesa, Tucson, Denver, Sacramento, and Santa Barbara. She outlived my 20s in Minneapolis in the 90s when we all danced at the Manhole and everyone I hung out with was a gay man named John or Jim. She outlived Wes, the balding flautist who had a full back tattoo of a tree and liked feminist porn starting Candida Royale. She outlived the year of the bipolar, unmedicated, half Chinese, half German, bluegrass, flat-picking guitar player who proposed to me on top of Angkor Wat in Cambodia. Our relationship and the setting, both a spectacular ruin. She was the one constant through the peanut gallery of penises, through the painful heartbreak of breaking up, and through the sometimes quiet relief of being alone. She doesn't require emotional connection. I don't need to give her an explanation of what I find sexy, like, say, the voice of Ira Glass, which I do. I don't have to tell her how I spent most of 2015 Googling shirtless pictures of the brand new Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau. Because that happened. I don't need to justify anything. The Conair 110 doesn't care. She just loves. She doesn't judge. She's taught me about the power of the imagination. The imagination is the best of all, and it upstages a fancy toy box. The bright box of my mind lights up the bright box between my legs that meets in the bright box of my heart. She wouldn't call the pussy a box. You can't tape it up. It's not supposed to be shut. Nothing fits in there. Not my desire, not my identity, not my politics, not my history, not what I think I know about myself, not what you think you know about me. It's more like a trap door that you fall through and you're stripped of all you know. The vagina is the chute of incarnation, the vehicle for coming from another realm into this one, shimmering and wet, crying and breathing and gasping for air. So, what would I say about my time with a Conair 110, this electronic shaman? She's a morning meditation. She's an afternoon delight. She's a late night benediction. She's a vibrating vesper. She's a pelvic prayer. Someday, this vintage masturbation machine will short out, start sparking, and turn into a vortex of fire. And I'll be right back where I started, both incarnated by and incinerated through human desire. My spirit returned to the cosmic collective. So what will I do when she's no longer around? I'll probably bury her in the backyard. But for now, as for the last 25 years, the Conair 110 remains curled up in the middle drawer of my nightstand, the cord wrapped around its handle, coiled and ready to pounce. I can scramble eggs, pay bills, feed the dogs, pull weeds, and then quietly, or not so quietly, launch my pleasure way out into the cosmos. Gasping, I'm sometimes startled by the kind of extraordinary pleasure that's available in an ordinary day.
All this time I thought Conair just made hair dryers. This has been a great night. I am so excited to be part of this company, and thank you, Under the Gum Tree, Janet and Robin, for kind of spearheading this. This is great. I'm so excited. Oh, first winners. We have 2 prizes from Hippocampus. This is 589, 845-6589. Oh, all right. We have one more. 565. 565? No? Yeah. Oh, all right. Congratulations. Okay. So I'm excited to introduce you to Michael Fischer. We were proud to have published Michael in our December 2016 issue, which seems like just yesterday. Time really flies. And we were drawn to his essay, When Gloves Come Off, for its skillful beauty. Michael is working on his MFA at Sierra Nevada College. He's co-editor of the Sierra Nevada Review, and he is a Moth Chicago Story Slam winner, which is so awesome. And he's a Lumen Arts Foundation Creative Writing Fellow. His essays appear or are forthcoming in The Sun, Brevity, Hotel America, The Rumpus, and elsewhere. Welcome, Michael.
Michael, how did the offsite go? It was great. I had to follow the Clit Whisperer. was thank you to Donna for having me here. This was actually the first piece of creative writing I ever did. And Hippocampus published it, and I really appreciate that. That being said, imagine being asked to read the first thing you ever wrote in public. So, here we go. It's called When the Gloves Come Off. Allie breezes in with her big warm smile, scans the barcode on my wristband to make sure I'm the right person, or maybe to see if I'm on sale, then carefully lifts up my sheet and peers down at my penis. Well, at the incision. She's a professional. The doctors were nice enough to take my catheter out before I woke up, so there's nothing obstructing her view, save for the mustard yellow surgical disinfectant dollop between my legs. She inspects the area around my sad little organ, an organ which now finds itself the color of a Simpsons character and the length of a candle wick. Good! That looks really good, Allie reassures me. Do you think so? I can do better. I stop myself from saying, thank you, I manage instead, mostly for not laughing. The surgeons just plugged a pseudoaneurysm, which is basically like a blood-filled sac in my cardiac wall. There were 2 entry points for the thin cables that went slithering through my arteries and into my heart to operate. Benevolent little miniatures of the metal octopuses from the Matrix movies. One incision was at the base of my neck, and the other was at my groin. Part of Allie's job is to check these 2 incisions and make sure they aren't bleeding excessively, hence all the gazing below the waist. At 23, I've already been on the American medical carousel for quite a while. Heart valve replacements starting at 9, then moving on to a pacemaker, lead extractions, I've forgotten really what else. But this is the most ridiculous situation I have ever found myself in. To make matters worse, Allie is the most beautiful nurse I've ever had. She's around my age, blonde hair, sharp blue eyes, and a warmth in her voice that makes me want to bury my face in her neck and tell her all my secrets. She's the night nurse from 7 to 7. Allie with an E at the end. Which is just the kind of thing I would normally hold against someone. It's like, doesn't make you unique, just spell it like everybody else, but she gets away with it. I'm fresh out of surgery, slap happy and cocky from the adrenaline of waking up on the other side of yet another velvet cocoon, making it through at least one more round. No family or friends are with me this time, but I don't care. I've been doing this for years. I'm tough, no problem. Besides, I don't want people getting between Allie and I. Our love will play out like any great TV hospital drama. Our feelings for each other amplified by the intensity of this place, the immediacy of life and death so present and tangible that everyone walks around falling in love with the drop of a hat. It's inevitable. It's true that Allie only comes in when it's time for my checkups, but she's busy tonight. We're growing closer with every half-hourly visit. She knows everything about me. My birthday, which by the way is tomorrow, I'm turning 29. Thank you. If I'm circumcised, the fact that I'm still on my dad's health insurance. It isn't long before the painkillers start to ebb and my hands start to shake. Stabs of pain run up my legs and throbs balloon and pulse in my chest, making me wince. Allie looks at me with her head cocked in concern and offers any number of comforts. Another pillow behind my neck, a better angle for the bed, more painkillers. I thank her and brush them all off, trying to show her how brave and low maintenance I am. When she leaves, I pretend to watch TV while anxiously staring at the clock, waiting for her to come back, too proud to just press the nurse button above my head. Every time I hear Allie coming, I try to smile and sit up and look strong, like something she might want. When she leans in to listen to my heartbeat, I force myself to observe proper stethoscope etiquette, looking away from her into the middle distance as she concentrates, eyebrows slightly furrowed. The pace of our breathing sinks as she listens. The part I'm most grateful for is actually the humiliation of the groin check. I love the way Allie's face remains clear despite what must be the awful sight and stench of me. She's so tender and without judgment, like a wife beside her old, ugly, incontinent husband. It's a kindness I won't forget, even long after we've married. Someday, she won't even put on gloves before she touches me. Mark my words. Allie is apologizing when I jolt out of a half-sleep. She's sorry to have to wake me for another inspection. I let her know I need to make a bathroom trip. She unhooks me from various machines and helps me stand, her voice coaxing as she holds me gently by my forearms. She lets me shuffle most of the way alone after I scold her for underestimating me. It's a stupid joke and probably unsafe to boot, but she laughs just to be nice. I negotiate the toilet without incident, a fact I'm inordinately proud of, not unlike a toddler, and scrutinize myself in the mirror as I wash up. That's when I hear Allie gently inform me through the crack in the door that, from the look of my bed sheets, some blood ran down from my groin during the operation and dried in some, quote, unfortunate places. While I'm in there, I can use a wet towel to clean it off if I feel up to it. I can tell she's trying to keep her tone casual and unobtrusive, doing everything she can not to embarrass me. I freeze, standing weakly in my ill-fitting hospital gown and baby blue traction socks, legs shaking, cheeks burning. Suddenly I can feel the whirls of fuzzy hair, matted with blood and caked in my pasty ass. I clamp my teeth together to keep my mouth from shivering. I wonder which of the drugs that I'm on made me think I could be something to this person who's just trying to get through another shift at work. It's too much for one day. Heart surgery and a woman, back to back. I thank her, my voice ragged and sheepish, as I wet a towel. I barely manage any small talk with Allie after that. As dawn approaches, we recap the movies I've watched during the night. Crazy Stupid Love, Ryan Gosling, what a dreamboat. But that's all I can muster. I know we could have whispered to each other all night, sitting up under the covers like kids at a sleepover, our heads acting as tent poles. But she always leaves the room the moment her duties are done. She doesn't notice how desperately I'm trying to keep her with me, get her talking, catch her eye, or she doesn't care. On some level, I know I'm being completely unfair to her. I'm as bad as a guy falling in love with his waitress just because she's friendly. But there's nothing I can do. The air in here is really cold. It's clinically cold. It prevents the spread of bacteria, disease, feelings. Physical boundaries and modesty have been suspended, the normal social order put on hold by necessity, but intimacy is still as far off as it was when I first walked in. Young and virile as I might think I am, I have no real identity here, romantic or otherwise. And so Allie inspects the most intimate part of my body, a part no person I'm not related to or in love with has ever seen. She does so again and again and again throughout the night, without so much as a blush of color in her face. Just a part of the body, after all. Just a patient. I'll never see her again. The pain keeps me from getting fully back to sleep, but before I know it, it's 7 a.m. Allie waves at me from the doorway, kind and warm as always, and wishes me luck. The day nurse comes in. She erases Allie's name from the whiteboard in the corner of my room, changes the date, writes her own name, which is Miriam, spelled exactly how you'd expect, and then scans my barcode, just to make sure I'm the right person.
Thank you, everyone, for coming, and let's hear it again for those readers. I mean, come on, give it up, give it up. We nonfiction folks got to stick together, right? We're a special breed. And I have to say a huge thank you to Laura from Fourth Genre, who was the first one to take a chance and partner with me at an event for AWP back in LA. And then last year, Cassie and River Teeth team joined us. So thank you, Joe and Tom, for being here from River Teeth tonight. This year, Donna and Kevin from Hippocampus joined us. And it's so awesome to just bring all the nonfiction publications together. So, you know, here's to an even bigger event next year.
Yes. Yes.
I want to say a huge shout out to Robin, who is the managing editor for Under the Gumtree, making sure you all get your raffle tickets and prizes, and my right-hand lady. We have issues at the book fair. Fourth Genre has issues at the book fair. Donna has a table at the book fair where you can get books, Rebecca's book. So come support your nonfiction publications. And lastly, let's hear it for this awesome venue. Ferg Live, thank you so much for having us. And Jonathan, our trusty sound guy, who's been an awesome support tonight. That's it. Enjoy the rest of your AWP. Thank you so much for coming out.